Imagine for a moment that everything you need to completely transform your financial life already exists, not outside but within you, and that this access to true wealth, the kind that doesn't disappear over time or depend on luck, is blocked by just one thing: your mindset. Yes, what separates you from the abundance you desire isn't the job you don't have, the salary you think you should be earning, or the opportunities you think others have. It's the way you see money, the way you feel about it, the way you position yourself toward the possibility of being rich. And that's exactly what we're going to delve into now. People often believe that to become rich, they need to study for years, take courses, start businesses, or get lucky with some great opportunity. But reality shows something completely different. There are people who study hard and remain poor. There are hard-working people who work hard for decades and never achieve financial freedom. Meanwhile, other people seem to have a natural magnet for attracting money. Nothing about them seems extraordinary, yet their lives flow with abundance. Is this coincidence? Is it privilege? Or is there an invisible pattern at work behind the scenes? This pattern is precisely the powerful secret held by a certain book. A secret so transformative that, if you understand and apply it, it can literally change everything. But be careful. I'm not talking about magic, nor fantastical promises. I'm talking about an internal reprogramming, a change in the foundation of your identity. Because it's not what you do that determines how much money you attract. It's who you are inside when you're doing it. Before you begin the teachings, make sure you've already hit the like button. But only do this if you truly desire to attract wealth into your life. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to prosper." This simple act already begins to create a commitment between you and your transformation. Now, let's get straight to the point. This book, which isn't on bestseller lists or cited in traditional finance courses, presents a brutally simple truth. Money is a response, not a cause. It responds to the frequency you emit. It responds to how you think, feel, and believe about it. And this frequency is being emitted all the time, even if you don't realize it. Think about how many times you've said or thought phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "Only the rich get richer," "I'm unlucky with money." These statements seem innocent, but they shape your financial reality every day. They're feeding an invisible field that organizes your experience with money. Life, like a precise mirror, reflects back what you believe to be true, not what you wish were true. Therefore, change begins when you decide to question these truths within yourself. This book, which many have kept secret, teaches that the key to unlocking the flow of money in your life is aligning your mind with the frequency of abundance. And the first step is realizing that you weren't taught to be rich. Quite the opposite. Since childhood, you've been conditioned to be content with little, to not desire too much, to accept that money is difficult, hard-earned, and distant. But what if all of this is just a programmed belief system? A program that can be uninstalled and replaced? Right now, you might be asking yourself, but how do I change this if my reality is harsh? How can I think about abundance if everything around me is scarcity? And the answer is straightforward. You need to think with the mind of the future, not with the eyes of the present. Your reality today is merely a reflection of what you've believed in recent years. If you want a new reality, you need to sow new thoughts now. Start by observing how you talk about money. What expressions do you use daily? What feelings come to mind when you think of wealth? Is it lightness or heaviness? Is it possibility or distrust? Transformation begins by becoming aware of these patterns, and after observing, the second step is to replace them. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "How can I generate the resources for this?" Instead of thinking, "This is too expensive for me," say, "This is possible, and I'm aligning myself to deserve it." These new ways of thinking aren't just fancy phrases. They're new vibrational commands that begin to reprogram your energy field. And this, over time, reorganizes your reality. The secret this book reveals is that the human mind is a broadcasting center. You're always emitting signals. The question is, what signal are you sending? Of scarcity, of need, or of fullness? This secret is powerful because it takes you out of the victimhood of circumstances and puts you in control of your vibration. And when you change your vibration, reality responds. Not magically, but mathematically. The universe is precise. It returns what you emit. Those who vibrate scarcity receive scarcity. Those who vibrate abundance receive opportunities, synchronicities, and open paths. Therefore, the most urgent lesson this book offers is, you need to become a new person on the inside before your outside can change. There's no point in doing more of the same and expecting different results. You need to think like a rich person, feel like a rich person, and behave like someone already in the flow of prosperity, even if you can't yet see the money physically. Change is internal, and the journey begins with small habits. How about starting with a simple mentalization every morning? Close your eyes and repeat, I am a growing person. Money comes to me easily. I am becoming a magnet for opportunities. Prosperity is already in my path. Do this with conviction and repeat it often, because it's not about convincing the universe, it's about convincing yourself that it's possible. And when you start believing, something changes. You start acting differently, speaking differently, deciding differently. And the world responds. People show up, proposals arrive, coincidences happen, and all this because you changed your mind's channel. You stopped tuning into the scarcity program and started listening to the abundance station. Over the next few sections, we'll delve deeper into each of these principles. We'll talk about habits, mindsets, reprogramming, and most importantly, how to maintain a rich mind even when living in a world that teaches small thinking. But now I want you to write in the comments, abundance is my natural state. This is more than a phrase, it's a commitment you're making to your own transformation. There comes a time in life when the mind, even tired from so many attempts, begins to hear something different. An internal whisper, a strange feeling that perhaps everything we've been taught about money so far is incomplete. That perhaps the formula isn't working ourselves to exhaustion, chasing things relentlessly, or relying on miracles. That moment when it occurs is the beginning of true transformation, and that's exactly where this book comes in. It doesn't repeat familiar formulas. It explains what almost no one talks about, that wealth is a response to your internal state, not a direct result of physical effort. The content of this book shatters a very old and very strong belief that money is earned by those who suffer the most. It clearly shows that money moves not by effort, but by frequency. It is not attracted by desperation or moral merit. It moves by vibration. And this may seem strange at first glance because we grew up believing that the harder it is, the fairer it is. But this is the root of the problem. Most people live trapped in the idea that to be rich, you have to pay a price, and that this price is too high. This is not true. The true price of wealth is not sacrifice, it is awareness. And awareness demands attention, not suffering. Throughout life, most people have programmed themselves to view money as something distant. They've learned to distrust wealth, to criticize those who have a lot, to say that money doesn't bring happiness. And without realizing it, they've come to live as if money were an enemy. But money has no feelings, it doesn't judge, it doesn't choose sides. It simply responds. It responds to how you feel about it. If you feel fear, rejection, or indignation, it moves away. If you feel deserving, at ease, it moves closer. That's why this book is so powerful, because it doesn't teach you how to do, but how to be. It doesn't hand you a business formula, it gives you a new identity, a new way of seeing life, of experiencing the world, of positioning yourself in the face of abundance. The first lesson it teaches is this: what you have on the outside is the exact reflection of what you believe on the inside. And if you keep saying that money is hard to come by, that everything is expensive, that there's never enough, then you're programming your reality to confirm this. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy day after day, fueled by the same phrases, the same thoughts, and the same emotions. And here the change begins. You don't have to change your entire life at once. You just need to start observing. Observe how you talk about money. Observe how you feel when you look at your bank account. Observe what you think when you see someone prosper. These automatic thoughts are shaping your financial reality far more than your conscious actions. What this book proposes is a shift, a change from the inside out. First, break the cycle of complaining, then cultivate new ways of thinking, and finally, sustain a new emotional pattern, even if the world around you hasn't yet changed. Wealth begins when you stop saying, "This is too expensive for me," and start asking, "How can I grow to achieve this with ease?" It begins when you stop feeling guilty about wanting more, and begin to see yourself as someone worthy of a full life. It begins when you decide to abandon the identity of someone who survives and embrace the identity of someone who thrives. And this decision doesn't need to be announced to anyone. It happens silently. The moment you firmly choose to stop repeating inherited patterns and make room for a new you. This book is an invitation to embrace this new self. It shows that you don't need to fight the world. You just need to align your inner world with what you desire to experience. Because the truth is simple. The universe has never denied you anything. It's simply delivering what you're ready to receive. And being ready isn't about effort. It's about identity. Do you see yourself as someone who receives easily, or as someone who always has to fight for everything? Are you comfortable with the idea of having more, or do you feel guilt, fear, or shame? These feelings are key. They reveal whether you are in harmony with abundance or still vibrating in scarcity. And perhaps until today, you've never asked yourself this question. How do I feel about having a lot of money? Because there's no point in wanting wealth if your body seizes up just imagining a full account. This internal conflict creates a blockage that no external strategy can overcome. That's why the book emphasizes observing your feelings. Your emotional field is the magnet. It's what attracts or repels opportunities, people, paths, and resources. Thinking positively helps, but feeling differently is what transforms. And feeling differently requires practice, presence, and repetition. So start small. When you wake up, say to yourself, even if it feels strange at first, today I am more open to prosperity than I was yesterday. Repeat this, even if your reality hasn't changed yet. By doing so, you begin to train your mind to a new narrative. One where you are the protagonist of your transformation, not the victim of circumstances. And this is the strongest point the book reveals. Wealth is the consequence of an internal decision, a decision to stop telling yourself the old story of scarcity and start writing, with conviction, the new story of abundance. This decision needs to be renewed every day, because the world will test you. Bills will arise, unexpected events will arise, moments of doubt will arise. And that's when you need to maintain your vibration. Don't react with fear, but with confidence. Don't feed the old pattern, but sustain the new. This isn't pretending, it's building. You're retraining your mind, reprogramming your body, expanding your field. And this requires consistency. But the results are powerful, because when your frequency changes, everything changes. People change, opportunities change. Money starts flowing from where you least expect it. And then you understand that it's not about finding the path to wealth, it's about becoming the path. About being someone who, wherever they go, radiates possibility, confidence, and value. Someone who has stopped fighting with money and learned to dance with it, because money doesn't respond to those who shout. It responds to those who vibrate with clarity. And this clarity comes from internal practice, from the daily decision to think like someone who is already prosperous, even when they don't yet see the fruits. Now, say out loud, firmly, I am the path to my prosperity. And write in the comments, I am activating my new identity. This is your signal to the universe. It's your access code to a new life, because the transformation has already begun. And with each new thought, each new feeling, you move closer to the life that has always been yours by right. Wealth isn't something you earn like a trophy, but something you become capable of receiving. This is perhaps the simplest and most powerful key this book teaches. Because while most people continue to seek external ways to improve their situation, whether through more work, more hours, more effort, or more attempts, the real turning point happens within. It's as if there's an invisible door between you and abundance. And this door doesn't open with force or desperation. It opens with awareness, and your consciousness begins to shift the moment you understand that you don't need to fight for money. You need to learn to stop blocking it. Yes, you read that right. Money isn't running away from you. It's just finding locked doors in your thoughts, your habits, your automatic reactions. And this may seem unfair at first glance, because many people think, but I try so hard. Why don't I see results? And the answer is straightforward and uncomfortable, because effort without alignment generates fatigue, not prosperity. And this is the reason for so much frustration in the world. How many people do you know who work hard, day in and day out, and never seem to get anywhere? And how many others seem to float through life, achieving things with ease? The difference isn't effort, it's vibration. It's the inner place from which each action is taken. If your action is born of fear, haste, or anguish, it carries that energy. But if your action is born of confidence, clarity, and an awareness of value, it carries abundance. And the universe responds with precision. This book is an invitation to reprogram this origin, to change the point from which you act. Because when you start operating from a new internal field, everything around you reorganizes. You begin to see opportunities where you previously saw problems. You begin to attract people who are in the same flow. You begin to feel like you don't need to prove anything, just allow. and that changes everything. The transformation process begins with the decision to abandon the old mental model. The model that says only others can do it, that says you weren't born for it, that says money is difficult, scarce, and dangerous. These ideas aren't yours. You've learned them throughout your life. You absorbed them from your environment, your family, your school, the media, and these ideas have become a program that runs automatically in your mind. But now, you have the chance to break this cycle, to delete this old program and install a new system based on abundance. The new system begins with a simple shift in your internal attitude. It's when you decide to no longer react with despair when faced with a bill, when you choose to no longer harbor anger when someone prospers, when you stop hiding behind the excuse of bad luck. These are all small doors you open, small cracks in the old wall of scarcity, and the more you do this, the more light enters. The light of new understanding, of new frequency, of new life. This book teaches that money has an energetic behavior. It behaves like a mirror. It doesn't make moral judgments. It doesn't choose good or bad. It simply responds. And what it responds to is what you're emitting right now. Not what you desire, not what you deserve, but what you vibrate. If you vibrate insecurity, it moves away. If you vibrate deservingness, it moves closer. And this is so powerful because it lifts the weight of doubt and places you at the center of creation. The question stops being, when will my life change, and becomes, what vibration am I maintaining every day? Because there's no point in vibrating with confidence for 5 minutes in the morning and then spending the rest of the day complaining, worrying, comparing yourself and feeling inferior. The dominant energy always wins, and your dominant energy is the one you feed the most. What you repeat becomes the pattern. What becomes the pattern becomes reality. And reality only changes when the internal pattern changes first. So the proposal is simple. Start changing your patterns, not desperately but with presence. Instead of waking up already thinking about bills, think about your ability to create value. Instead of going to sleep feeling defeated, go to bed reaffirming your connection to abundance. Say, even if your mind resists, I am becoming a prosperous person. Even if it seems like a lie at first, keep going, because your mind doesn't distinguish reality from repetition. What you repeat with emotion, it believes. And what it believes, it turns into action, and what you act on consistently transforms the world around you. This book shows that true financial change begins with a new emotional attitude. When you begin to treat money with respect, with ease, with tranquility. When you stop treating it as an enemy, as something scarce, and begin to recognize it as an energy that responds to your internal state. This recognition is the beginning of a new relationship with money, a more mature, more balanced, healthier relationship. And the most surprising thing is that when you change this relationship, you realize that the money was always available. What was missing was allowing yourself to receive it. You were blocking the flow with negative thoughts, with dense emotions, with repetitive patterns of self-sabotage. But now, by becoming aware of this, you begin to break the cycle. And with each new aligned decision, with each new elevated thought, you clear the path. There comes a point when money starts coming in unexpected ways, and not because something magical happened, but because you finally stopped blocking it. You got out of the way. You stopped being an obstacle and became a channel. And at that moment, you feel the power of this transformation. You feel that life is easier, that you don't have to fight with time, with people, with bills. You feel that there is a natural flow that you can integrate with. And when you integrate, everything starts to flow. That's why this book is so special. It offers no shortcuts. It offers depth. It doesn't promise quick fixes. It reveals eternal principles. And the greatest of them all is this: everything you seek is already seeking you. But it can only find you when you're vibrating at the same frequency. And this frequency isn't created with effort, but with intention, presence, and practice. So now close your eyes for a moment and say with conviction, feeling each word, I am becoming receptive to abundance. Repeat this a few times, out loud, until you feel something inside you shifting. And if you want to seal this new frequency, write in the comments, I am an open channel for money to flow. This is your new truth. This is your new direction. And everything that comes from here will be a response to this decision. Have you ever stopped to wonder why, despite trying everything, money seems to slip through your fingers? Have you ever felt that the more you chase it, the more distant it becomes? This feeling, which many carry as an invisible burden, is not the result of reality itself, but of a mental program operating without you realizing it. And it is precisely this program that the book reveals as the true saboteur of your prosperity. Because money, contrary to what you've been taught, is not a reward for suffering. It is a natural consequence of an internal state of abundance. For years, we've been conditioned to believe that money must be earned through sweat, pain, and sacrifice. But what this book clearly exposes is that true worthiness isn't achieved through excessive effort. It's activated through identity. You don't attract what you desire, you attract what you believe you are. And this is a difference that changes everything, because as long as you keep trying to change your reality without changing your self-perception, the most you'll achieve is instability, small gains followed by large losses, an emotional and financial seesaw that saps your energy and undermines your faith. The turning point comes when you understand that life doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. And being is a vibrational state. Being is the sum of the thoughts you repeat, the emotions you cultivate, the decisions you make even when no one is looking. Being is what you emanate when no one is around, when the day ends and silence appears. It is in this space that life hears your true request, and it is from there that money decides whether or not it can approach. The book teaches that to receive, you must first cleanse. Clear beliefs, resentments, past resentments, fears that have become routine. Because your mind is like a field. If it's full of rocks and weeds, no seed of prosperity will grow there. And these rocks have names. I'm not good enough. Every time I improve, something goes wrong. Rich people don't go to heaven. Money changes people. These thoughts seem like mere phrases, but they are actually deep roots that cling to your belief system and distort everything you try to build. That's why visualizing wealth isn't enough if you still feel uncomfortable with it. The mind senses contradiction, and every internal contradiction creates external blockages. You may even say you want money, but if deep down you feel guilty just thinking about earning more than your family already has, your subconscious mind shuts down. It understands that having more is betraying your origins, that growing up is risking disconnection. And so, out of love for the past, you repeat the same patterns. Unconsciously, you sabotage yourself, and you don't even realize it. But this book comes as a mirror that clearly shows that the problem was never a lack of opportunities. The problem was always how you view yourself in the face of them. You don't see what's possible. You see what you believe is possible. And the difference between those who thrive and those who remain stuck is there. Those who thrive don't wait for permission. Those who thrive have created an internal image of worthiness that is so strong, so vivid, that the outside world is forced to adjust. And how do you create this image? Repetition, imagination, presence, awareness. It's a daily practice of speaking to yourself with new words, of treating yourself as someone valuable, of stopping belittling yourself in conversations, of giving up the habit of laughing when someone praises your abilities. All of this, little by little, builds a new identity, the identity of someone who doesn't beg for money but who naturally attracts it. The book says that true prosperity begins when you stop using money as an emotional shield. Because many people don't want money. They want a sense of security, control, and respect. And as long as you treat money as the solution to your emptiness, it will remain distant, because it senses when it's being used as a crutch. Money doesn't resolve internal conflicts. It only amplifies what already exists. If you feel fear, it amplifies. If you feel trust, it amplifies. If you vibrate scarcity, it confirms. If you vibrate abundance, it responds. So the key is in today, in what you're feeling right now. Because now is the moment of creation. The past is memory, the future is potential, but it's in the now that you decide what you'll sustain, and each now is a new chance to align your energy. Don't wait for the bill to pile up to start feeling rich. Start now, with what you have where you are. Wealth is an internal state, and when this state consolidates, the external one follows. Not magically, but with coherence. You start behaving differently. You start valuing yourself more. You start saying no to what doesn't suit you. You start choosing more clearly. And these choices create new paths. People notice. Opportunities arise. Doors open. And all of this happens not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. Because you removed the blockage. Because you allowed yourself to be who you've always been. Someone with value. Someone who doesn't need to prove anything. Someone who is already enough. The practice then is simple. Close your eyes every day and see yourself as someone already living in prosperity. Feel the relief, the tranquility, the lightness. Imagine your days with more freedom, more choices, more time, and feel that this is natural, that it suits you. Repeat mentally, "This is my new reality." I open myself to it. Even if it seems like a fantasy at first, keep going, because what you repeat with emotion, your mind registers as truth. And the truth is, your financial reality can change in surprising ways. Not by luck, but by alignment. When you change within, the world outside changes by reflection. When you sustain the new energy, the universe responds with new paths. And what once seemed impossible begins to happen naturally. The secret isn't in the world, it's in how you position yourself before it. So write in the comments, "I'm freeing myself from scarcity." This is your signal, your activation code. And remember, it doesn't matter how long you've been living on autopilot. From now on, you can choose to live consciously. And those who live consciously live powerfully. And those who live powerfully attract wealth effortlessly. Life is always speaking to you, not with words but with signs. And when it comes to money, these signs are even more evident. They appear in small discomforts, in repetitions, in situations that seem to test you every month. And most people, because they don't understand this language, react in the worst possible way, with fear, anxiety, and complaints. But what this book teaches is that every sign, every financial situation that repeats itself in your life is a clear message, a chance to reprogram, to free yourself, to align with a new frequency. Have you ever noticed how even when everything seems to be going well, something happens and the money disappears? Something unexpected, an unexpected debt, a poorly thought out decision. And it seems that every time you start moving forward, something pulls you back. This isn't bad luck. This isn't destiny. This is a pattern. And this pattern isn't in the world. It's in your mind. A pattern is an unconscious repetition your mind creates to protect you from something that often doesn't even make sense anymore. It's like an alarm that keeps ringing even after the danger has passed. This book teaches that money only remains in the lives of those who have the internal structure to sustain it. Because earning money is one thing, sustaining a prosperous life is quite another. And this internal structure isn't built with more work or more control. It's built with emotional awareness. You need to feel secure, free, and at peace with the idea of having more. You need to see yourself as someone who knows how to handle growth, the responsibility of receiving, and the ease of maintaining what you've achieved. Otherwise, your mind creates ways to expel money, even without you realizing it. That's why so many people win prizes and lose everything. Why do so many promising businesses fail? Why are so many incredible opportunities sabotaged before they even come to fruition? Because there's an invisible ceiling that regulates everything, and that ceiling is built on the beliefs you hold about yourself. If you believe you're not enough, your mind will find a way to prove it. If you believe money changes people for the worse, it will ensure you don't. If you harbor the belief that success alienates you from others, you'll keep moving closer to failure, not because you want to, but because you've learned it's safer this way. But here's the truth this book clearly reveals. You can rewrite your story. It doesn't matter how many years you've spent repeating the same cycles. Your past has no more power than your conscious decision today, and the decision that transforms begins with a simple choice. Stop living on autopilot. Start questioning every limiting thought. Start observing every sabotaging reaction. Start treating your mind like a fertile field where you choose what to plant. This book proposes a daily exercise that seems small but has a huge impact, choosing one new thought each day. Yes, just one. A thought that represents a new reality. One that aligns with the life you want to live, not the life you're trying to abandon. For example, if you've always thought, "It never works out for me," the new thought could be, "Every day I'm closer to my breakthrough." If the old thought is, "I have no luck with money," the new one could be, "I'm learning to receive easily." Doesn't seem like much. That's what transforms everything, because the mind changes with repetition, and what you repeat, you create. And this creation isn't metaphorical, it's literal. Your mind creates realities from the patterns you feed it. It's like a filter that determines what you see and what you ignore. And the most surprising thing is that abundance may be passing by you right now, but if your mind is programmed for scarcity, you won't notice it. You'll see difficulties where there are doors. You'll see competition where there is collaboration. You'll feel fear where you could feel excitement, all because of the filter. Therefore, the work is internal. It's silent, it's daily, and it doesn't require force. It requires presence. The book says that the most profound transformation happens when you stop trying to change the world and start changing your response to it. When you stop blaming the system, the economy, others, and start taking control of the only thing you can truly change, yourself, your vibration, your energy, your internal state. And this change begins to be noticed. The people around you notice. Your posture changes, your way of speaking, looking, and making decisions. You start saying yes more to what expands you and no more to what diminishes you. You start putting yourself in places where you once felt ashamed. You start valuing yourself without fear of appearing arrogant. And all of this creates a vibrational field so strong that money has no choice. It must respond, because money is attracted to clarity, to certainty, to the feeling of completeness. When you feel like you're already enough, it comes to amplify. When you feel like you need it to feel good, it moves away. Not because it's malicious, but because it doesn't combine with need. Wealth and need don't occupy the same space. One needs to leave for the other to enter. Therefore, the biggest challenge isn't doing more. It's feeling differently. It's starting to build a space of safety, trust, and receptivity within yourself. It's deciding that you will no longer live as an emotional beggar waiting for money to save you, but rather as someone who has understood that money is a consequence, not a savior. That money is an expression, not a cure. That money is a reflection, not a cause. At this point, close your eyes and imagine yourself with everything you desire. Imagine it in detail. See the house, the place, the lifestyle. Feel what it would be like to walk with ease, without weight, without rushing. And now feel if this brings you peace or discomfort. If it's peace, you're ready. If it's discomfort, that's where you need to work. Because money isn't the goal is the inner state that allows you to live in peace even before it arrives. Write in the comments, I am creating inner space for abundance to enter, and repeat mentally right now, I am safe to prosper. It is natural for me to live well. I am prepared to receive. These phrases, when repeated with presence, begin to undo the invisible knots that hold back your financial reality. And the more you cleanse within, the lighter everything becomes. The real turning point doesn't happen at the bank, at work, or in business. It happens now, in your mind. The moment you decide you're no longer going to carry the weight of scarcity as your identity. You are not your bank account, you are not your past. You are an expanding consciousness, and this consciousness, when awakened, attracts everything it needs. Many people spend their entire lives trying to change their lives from the outside, without ever touching the true turning point that happens from the inside. They change jobs, move cities, try a business, take courses, watch videos, read books, but they still feel the same way when they look at their bank statement, that mix of anxiety, fear, and frustration. This happens because, without changing what's inside, nothing that comes from the outside can sustain itself. And this is precisely the core of the secret the book reveals. The money that lasts is the one that finds a mind prepared to receive it naturally. While most insist on seeking magic formulas, shortcuts, and empty promises, this book proposes a silent and profound transformation, retraining the mind to think in terms of abundance, even when everything around screams scarcity, because external reality is merely a delayed mirror of your internal vibration. What you feel and believe today will manifest as facts tomorrow. And if you continue to feel that you're never enough, that things never work out, that nothing changes, then tomorrow will simply repeat this pattern. Wealth isn't a matter of luck, talent, or extreme effort. It's a matter of frequency. Imagine your mind is a radio station. If you're tuned to the frequency of lack, it's impossible to pick up the signals of abundance. There may even be opportunities passing by, people wanting to help you, incredible ideas emerging, but you don't see them, you don't perceive them, you don't act, because you're operating on a different channel, and the only way to change that is to turn the dial of consciousness. Change what you think, what you feel, what you believe to be true. This book shows that every human being is constantly sending a signal to the universe, a signal that isn't measured by words, but by the coherence between what one thinks, what one feels, and what one expects. When there's alignment between these three layers, thought, emotion, and expectation, the signal is strong, clear, and magnetic. The problem is that in most people there's a disconnect. They think about wealth, but feel fear. They desire abundance, but expect failure. And this contradiction neutralizes the signal. The universe doesn't know how to respond. The energy becomes confused, and the result is a blocked life full of attempts that fail. The cure for this lies in reconnection, and reconnection begins with honesty. You need to look within and admit, what do I really feel when I think about having money? Do I feel peace or guilt? Do I feel freedom or burden? Do I feel it's possible or just a distant dream? This answer is key, because what you feel most strongly is what's controlling your vibration. Not what you desire, but what you feel is true. The book proposes that you become a self-observer, that you develop the ability to identify throughout the day the moments when your frequency drops, when you start complaining, comparing yourself, feeling envious or worrying. Each of these emotions is a detour from the path to prosperity, and the more time you spend in this state, the further you become from the flow of abundance. But the most incredible thing is that you can return to the flow at any time. You just have to decide. You just have to stop, breathe, acknowledge the deviation, and choose a new thought, a thought of trust, gratitude, and worthiness, because the frequency of abundance is always available. It doesn't disappear, it doesn't vanish, it's there, waiting for you to align with it. And alignment doesn't require effort, it requires practice. One practice this book clearly teaches is conscious emotional reconditioning. This means feeling now what you want to experience next. Do you want financial freedom? Then start feeling that sense of freedom now, even if you're in debt. Do you want more time? Then start feeling the relief of not being tied to the clock, even if you still work too much. Do you want security? Feel the security of knowing that everything is working out, even if you don't see the results yet. The human mind doesn't distinguish between reality and intense imagination. When you truly feel something, your brain registers it as an experience, and if you repeat that emotional experience every day, your brain understands that it's your new normal, and when it accepts this as normal, it begins to change the way you act, speak, and behave. And these new attitudes create a new reality. That's why some people, even without having changed anything in the external world, begin to see their lives transform. Because they've changed within, they've changed the field, they've changed the vibration. But this transformation doesn't happen magically. It requires consistency. You won't meditate once and expect everything to change. You won't repeat a phrase and think your mind will reprogram years of scarcity. What the book proposes is a process, one step at a time, one choice a day. A new feeling cultivated, and when you repeat this long enough, change sets in. And then comes the most beautiful part. You start to feel good before the money arrives. You start to live with peace, with presence, with lightness, and the money arrives as a consequence, not as a goal. And when it arrives, it finds a new you, a more prepared, more aware, more connected you. And then the money stays, because you no longer need it to feel complete. You already feel complete. And this completeness is the ideal breeding ground for abundance to flourish continuously. You no longer despair. You no longer cling. You no longer live in fear of loss. You understand that the source is not in your job, nor in your client, nor in the government. The source is within you, and as long as you are connected to this source, life flows. This is the point most people don't reach, because to get there, you have to cross the desert of doubt. You have to keep practicing even when nothing seems to change. You have to trust the frequency, even when reality doesn't show signs. But that's where the magic happens. When you keep going anyway, even without proof, you prove to the universe that you're ready. And then reality responds. Now close your eyes for a moment and truly say, I am the field where abundance flourishes. I don't chase it. I allow it to come to me. And write in the comments, my frequency is shifting. This is your commitment, your seed planted, your symbolic gesture that you're willing to maintain your vibration even when the world tries to pull you down. Because wealth is real. It exists, and it's closer than you think. But it can only enter the lives of those who have the courage to see themselves as someone who already deserves it. And that someone right now is you. The greatest illusion scarcity creates is that prosperity is far away, as if it were a distant island, accessible only to a select few, to the chosen, to the lucky. This thought, though seemingly a limiting belief, becomes a mental wall that blocks any attempt at change. When someone believes wealth is a privilege, they automatically place themselves outside the flow that could bring it. And what this book accurately reveals is that abundance has never been far away. It has always been within reach, just obscured by layers of erroneous thinking. It's like living in a house with dusty windows. The world outside is beautiful, full of opportunities, possibilities, and paths. But those who live inside, looking through the dirty glass, believe the world is grey, confusing, and closed. And life responds accordingly. Everything you believe with emotional strength becomes reality, because the universe doesn't respond to your desires, it responds to your vibration, and your vibration is the direct result of what you repeatedly think and feel. Therefore, the first practical proposal this book offers is this: clean the windows. Start identifying the thoughts that are clouding your vision. Pay close attention to the moments when you tell yourself something is impossible, that it's impossible for you, that you've tried everything. Each of these phrases is a layer of dust. Each repeated thought of scarcity is an invisible blockage that prevents you from seeing open doors. But the most surprising thing is that these doors have always existed. Life isn't selective about abundance. Nature doesn't skimp on fruits, trees, or seeds. The universe is pure expansion. Scarcity isn't in creation. It's in the human mind. It's in the way we've been taught to think small, to distrust those who have, to feel ashamed of wanting more. And as long as these feelings govern your decisions, you will continue to plant seeds of limitation. This book proposes a radical shift. Stop thinking like someone seeking wealth and start thinking like someone already living it. This isn't pretense, it's construction. It's a way of training the mind to get used to the idea of having it, instead of always feeling the pain of not having it. Because what you repeat internally, the body believes, and the body, by believing it, begins to behave differently. And this new behavior generates new experiences. And these new experiences reinforce the new belief. And that's how a new cycle begins. Have you ever noticed that certain people seem to have the touch of abundance? Everything they touch expands. They speak with confidence, act with ease, and attract opportunities naturally. This isn't a special gift, it's simply the result of a mind that's no longer blocking the flow. They don't ask for permission to thrive. They don't feel guilty about growing. They don't sabotage themselves when things start to go well. They already see themselves as part of abundance, and because of this, they receive naturally. This is what the book proposes you build: a new identity, not the identity of the victim, nor the weary warrior, nor the unlucky, but the identity of a conscious being who knows that wealth is a reflection of what they hold within. This new identity is not measured by how much you have in your account, but by how at peace you feel when imagining having so much, because true prosperity begins when you feel comfortable with the idea of having more, not to show off, not to flaunt, but because you understand that it's okay to be prosperous, and to feel this you need to practice. Visualize yourself every day living the life you desire, with details, with sensations, with emotion. Don't visualize yourself as someone who is wishing. Visualize yourself as someone who is already living. Feel the tranquility of paying for everything with ease. Feel the joy of making choices freely. Feel the gratitude of being able to contribute to others. Feel the calm of knowing that everything is okay. The more you immerse yourself in these sensations, the more your mind accepts this new pattern as truth. And when it does, it begins to attract experiences that confirm this new reality. The book also shows that the greatest enemy of wealth isn't a lack of money. It's the attachment to suffering. Many people have become accustomed to living in struggle, in hardship, in a rush, and when things start to improve, they feel afraid, they feel unworthy, they feel something bad will happen. This fear is the last bastion of scarcity, and it needs to be faced with clarity. You need to tell yourself, it's okay for me to live well, it's okay for me to grow, it's okay for me to prosper. This internal permission is liberating, and the more you allow yourself, the more life responds, because the universe is always listening to your frequency. If you vibrate distrust, it waits. If you vibrate deservingness, it delivers. And this is neither punishment nor reward, it is a response. The universe neither punishes nor rewards, it merely reflects. It returns what you sustain with emotional firmness. Therefore, the most important work is the inner work. And this work requires attention. Observe yourself carefully. Notice your automatic thoughts. See how you react to news about money, conversations about success, and ideas about growth. And when you notice resistance, don't fight it. Just embrace it and choose a new thought. Say, I am becoming someone who lives at peace with abundance. Repeat this until it feels natural, until your body accepts it, until your mind stops resisting. And then, as in a natural cycle, reality begins to change. Small things first, then bigger ones. An unexpected discount, an idea that works, a contact that emerges. A new energy begins to settle in, and you realize it's not luck, it's alignment. It's you becoming compatible with what has always been yours. Because abundance doesn't just arrive, it's awakened, and the alarm clock is your decision to change from within. Now say out loud, I am ready to receive the best that life has to offer. And write in the comments, my mind is opening to abundance. This is your commitment to transformation. a simple yet powerful step toward the life you've always felt you deserved. You don't need external proof to start living like a prosperous person. The truth is, proof comes later. First, you need to build internally a structure capable of sustaining this new reality. While most are still waiting for the day when everything will change, people who truly transform are already changing now, silently, through thoughts, emotions, and small actions that don't make noise but add up, build, and plant. This book shows that the real turning point doesn't happen when you get more money, but when you feel differently about it. Because money by itself has no power. It's an amplifier. It amplifies who you already are. If you're someone vibrating fear, it amplifies fear. If you're someone vibrating confidence, it amplifies confidence. And so having more doesn't solve the problem. What solves the problem is being more conscious, more balanced, more aligned. When this happens, money begins to flow steadily because it has found a secure base to stay. You may have wondered, at various points in your life, why you've never been able to hold on to money for long. It appears, but then slips away. It comes, but quickly disappears. This is one of the most common and most misunderstood pains, because the answer lies not in the amount of work, nor in financial decisions. The answer lies at the level of identity. If deep down, you still see yourself as someone who doesn't know how to handle money, someone who always loses, who has no luck, who has no control, then your mind finds a way to confirm this. And what this book reveals is that you can break this cycle, but not with more effort, with more awareness. The first thing you need to understand is that your relationship with money is an extension of your relationship with yourself. If you treat yourself harshly, rigidly, with constant criticism, money will reflect that energy. If you constantly belittle yourself, sabotage yourself, and put yourself last, money will follow suit. It will hide from you, because it doesn't go hand in hand with self-sabotage. Money goes hand in hand with appreciation, clarity, and balance. Therefore, one of the most powerful practices the book proposes is to change the way you talk to yourself. Words have energy. Every time you say, "I'm terrible with money," your mind registers it as true. Every time you say, "I never have any left over," you're programming scarcity. And the problem is, these phrases are repeated so naturally that you don't even notice. They become part of your identity. And so, change begins with language. You need to start listening to yourself. And when you notice a negative phrase, stop and say another one in its place. Replace "it never works" with "I'm learning how to make it work." Replace "everything is difficult" with "I'm finding easier ways." Replace "I don't know how to manage money" with "I'm learning to be more responsible with my money." It's not about fooling yourself. It's about building a new inner space. Because only when you believe in yourself does the world begin to believe in you too. And that's when the money starts to come more consistently. It feels the change. It perceives the new internal environment. Another central point the book raises is the role of attention. Everything you focus on expands. If you spend your day thinking about what's missing, you're feeding the field of scarcity. If you spend your day observing problems, comparing yourself to others, and complaining about the situation, then you're watering the wrong soil. Even if you say you want to prosper, your energy is in the opposite direction, and life responds to energy, not words. This is why so many good people with good intentions remain financially stuck. Because their words call for prosperity, but their attention is fixed on lack. Changing this is a practice, a daily exercise in redirection. Whenever you notice your mind drifting towards scarcity, stop, breathe, and choose a new focus. Think of something that works, something that's working. Give thanks, even if it's small. Gratitude is a vibrational bridge that connects you to the frequency of abundance. When you focus on what you have, you expand it. When you focus on what's missing, you expand the feeling of lack. This book teaches that the energy of gratitude is one of the most direct paths to prosperity, but not empty, automatic gratitude. It's the kind of gratitude you feel, the kind that comes when you realize that, despite the challenges, you're here alive, conscious, with the chance to change. Gratitude for the simple fact that you can decide right now that your financial story will change, not because someone said so, but because you decided to. This gratitude creates a magnetic field around you, a field that begins to attract compatible experiences. You may not realize it right away, but when you begin to live in this new realm, synchronicities increase. You think of something and someone calls. You wish for something and an idea emerges. You let go of a negative thought and a new perception emerges. All of this is a response to your new pattern. Life begins to conspire, not by magic, but by coherence. Your energy has shifted, and life, being a reflection, responds. Little by little, you begin to feel like you're no longer struggling with money, that it comes more easily, that there's no longer that pressure, that weight, that anguish. Because now you understand that it's not about chasing it, it's about aligning yourself. And this alignment is achieved through small, repeated, conscious choices. Choices that build a new way of thinking, feeling, and acting. And most importantly, a new way of seeing yourself. You stop being the one who keeps trying and become the one who already is. And when you are, the world responds. Money finds a place to enter. It senses there's now space. Clear, firm, available space. And then it comes. And when it comes, it finds a new you. Say now with presence, I am becoming a natural magnet for money. And if you feel this resonates, write in the comments, my relationship with money is changing. Because just by saying this truthfully, a new door begins to open. And if you continue on this path, there is no other possible outcome than abundance. There's a force that acts constantly and silently in all of our lives. This force is called habit. Habit is what you do without thinking, what you feel without realizing, what you believe without questioning. It's the invisible tracks your life runs on, day after day. And when it comes to money, mental and emotional habits are the biggest contributors to your current financial reality. It's not luck, bad luck, or fate. It's habit. The book makes this very clear. You don't get rich by doing different things once in a while. You get rich by being different every day. But how can we change this? How can we break the cycle of repeating thoughts of scarcity, acting out of fear, expecting the worst? The first step is to become conscious. You need to start observing your thought patterns, your automatic reactions, your small daily decisions, because they are what determine the course of your life. When you wake up and feel anxious, when you see a bill and feel despair, when you think about money and feel guilty, all of this creates a vibrational field that repels abundance. And the worst part, you don't even realize you're doing it. This book proposes that you stop living on autopilot. Start treating yourself as someone in the process of transformation, not as someone at the mercy of life. With every negative thought that arises, stop and ask yourself, is this true? Is this helpful? Does this bring me closer to the life I want or further away? Just this small habit of asking completely shifts your frequency, because most people simply believe everything they think, and their thinking is often contaminated by old, inherited, limiting ideas. You don't have to fight these thoughts, just don't feed them. Let them pass like clouds. Observe and choose another. A thought of strength, of confidence, of possibility. At first this will seem difficult, it will seem false, but over time the mind begins to adjust, and when it adjusts, it begins to cooperate, and when the mind cooperates, reality changes. One of the biggest traps the book exposes is comparison, the habit of measuring your life against other people's standards. This destroys your energy, because you start to think you're behind, that you're losing, that you're not as worthy as others. And this feeling of inferiority creates a vibration of scarcity. The universe understands that you're saying, I'm not enough, and responds accordingly. Therefore, the book teaches that the only valid comparison is with yourself. Are you better off than yesterday? Are you thinking more positively? Are you reacting with more awareness? Then you're on the right track. Another habit that blocks abundance is complaining. Complaining seems harmless, but it's one of the most effective ways to reinforce scarcity. Every time you complain, you're affirming to the universe that you accept that reality. You're saying, this is what I have, this is what I believe, this is what I accept. And the universe responds, so here's more of that. Replacing complaining with gratitude is one of the most powerful exercises you can do, and it doesn't have to be for big things. Be grateful for what you already have. For the bed you sleep in, the water you drink, the chance to try again. Gratitude is a vibration of abundance. You don't have to feel gratitude all the time, but you do need to practice. At first, it will feel forced, but over time it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, you begin to see the world through different eyes. You begin to notice good things that previously went unnoticed. And this new perspective creates a new vibrational field. And this new field begins to attract new experiences. Sound too simple? It is simple, but it requires consistency. The book also shows that a powerful habit for attracting wealth is conscious affirmation. Affirmations aren't magic phrases. They're mental commands. When you repeat phrases like "I am prosperous, I am worthy, money flows easily to me," you're training your mind to accept a new identity. At first, your mind will resist. It will say it's a lie. It will bring up memories of failure. It will try to sabotage you. But if you keep at it consistently, it begins to accept it, and when it does, it begins to act accordingly. Everything you want already exists. What's missing is for you to become the person who lives this reality, and this is achieved through habits of thought, feeling, and choice. When you start thinking like someone who is already prosperous, feeling like someone who is already prosperous, acting like someone who is already prosperous, reality responds, not immediately but inevitably, because the external world is a delayed reflection of your internal world. You don't have to change everything at once. Start small. Choose a new habit. It could be affirmation, gratitude, or mindfulness of thoughts. Choose one and practice it every day with intention, with presence, with truth. And when that habit takes hold, choose another, and so little by little you create a new frequency. And this frequency opens paths. It attracts ideas, people, and situations. There comes a point when you look back and no longer recognize who you were. And this doesn't happen by chance. It happens because you chose to, because you decided to change the invisible tracks, because you understood that life doesn't change when everything improves. Life improves when you change. Now say out loud, "I am creating habits that bring me closer to wealth." And if this resonates with you, write in the comments, "Each new habit is a step toward my prosperity." This is your commitment, your decision, and decisions aligned with what you want are the seeds of the reality you will live. You are not your past. You are not what you were told. You are not the sum of the bills you have to pay. You are not the label they placed on you. And most importantly, you are not the story your mind repeats every day, telling you it's not possible, that it's not for you, that it's too late. What the book reveals, clearly and almost liberatingly, is that you can start over at any time. That change begins now, and you don't need anything external to do it. You just need a new decision, deciding that scarcity is no longer part of your identity. This point is profound, because scarcity isn't just a situation, it's a mindset. It's a way of seeing the world, of interpreting everything that happens. And when you live from this perspective, everything seems difficult, everything seems threatening, everything seems slippery. It's like walking on thin ice. Any movement could shatter, and the body gets used to this fear, the mind adapts to this tension, and without realizing it, you start making decisions based on this idea that nothing is certain, nothing is stable, nothing is enough. This book invites you to step outside that lens, to exchange the glasses of scarcity for those of abundance, to begin to realize that the world isn't against you. It simply reflects what you project. If you project fear, it returns situations that keep you on your toes. If you project confidence, it begins to return paths of greater clarity. It all depends on what you believe to be true. People often say, "But I can't believe I'm prosperous because my life has never shown it." And what the book teaches is that life doesn't show you first. It shows you later. First you believe, then you see. First you sustain a new image internally, and only then does the world begin to reflect this new identity. And that takes courage. Courage to sustain the new vibration even when reality seems to disagree. Courage to continue affirming a new truth even when everything seems the same. External reality has a slight delay. It doesn't change as quickly as your thoughts. But it does change, and it changes precisely according to what you consistently maintain. Therefore, the secret isn't in doing more. It's in continuing to vibrate the new, even without proof. And this is where many people give up. They start to change, feel an improvement, but since they don't see quick results, they return to the old pattern. And what they don't realize is that they were just one step away from a breakthrough. The impatient mind sabotaged the process. This book teaches that wealth is the fruit of emotional persistence, of remaining firm in the new frequency, of staying anchored in the vision, even when everything around you still seems the same. You're not faking it. You're building. You're training your mind to sustain the new. You're saying to the universe, "This is who I am now." And the universe, which is extremely sensitive to your dominant vibration, begins to respond, slowly at first, then with greater intensity, until suddenly it seems like everything changed at once. But it didn't change all at once. It changed from within, over days, weeks, months, and the result was inevitable. And here comes an essential point. You need to see yourself as someone who deserves it. This is perhaps the most neglected point by those trying to get rich, because even when they want it badly, even when they make affirmations, the internal feeling is still that they are not worthy, that maybe they haven't done enough, that maybe they are being greedy, that maybe someone will get hurt if they grow too much, and all of this blocks the flow, because the mind doesn't deliver what you don't allow yourself to receive. This book explores the idea of worthiness as a frequency. You don't earn worthiness, you vibrate worthiness. You feel it, you sustain it. You see yourself as someone who can have it, who can maintain it, who can expand it. And when this vibration is established, the money comes. It comes because you've become compatible. It comes because there are no longer internal barriers. It comes because it now finds space. That's why, instead of chasing money, the book teaches you to chase yourself, to discover where the blocks are, where the fears are, where the guilt lies, and release it all, because when you release, you cleanse yourself. And when you cleanse yourself, life flows. And with it comes money, opportunities, contacts, ideas. Another powerful teaching from the book is about the energy of already is. This means you need to feel as if you already are. Not I will be, not I hope to be, but I am now. Even if the account says otherwise, even if the balance is negative, even if the environment says otherwise, you choose not to react to it. You choose to create a new reaction. You choose to act as if you already live in abundance. And this starts with the little things. How do you walk? How do you talk? How do you dress? How do you respond to situations? Do you behave like someone in need or someone at peace? Peace is an indication of alignment. When you feel peace, even without having everything resolved, it's because your vibration is right. Peace is the signal, and it doesn't come later. It comes when you decide that everything is okay now, even in the middle of the process, and that's when the money starts to appear. Because it senses that you can now receive, that you're safe, that you won't sabotage it anymore, that you'll use it consciously, that you'll maintain the flow. Money likes peace. It likes clarity. It likes environments where it's welcomed but not idolized, where it's respected but not worshipped, where it's used but not controlled, where it circulates. So instead of asking yourself, when will I make more money? Start asking yourself, how can I become more compatible with abundance today? This question changes the game. It takes you out of the victim's place and puts you at the center of creation, because now you take responsibility. You understand that you are an active part of the process and that your part is to vibrate, sustain, and allow. Now close your eyes for a few seconds and repeat with presence, I allow myself to thrive. I accept the best in life. I am worthy of everything I desire. Repeat it one more time, feeling it, and then write in the comments, I am not my past. I am creating a new reality. This is your commitment to the new. This is the step that transforms desire into decision and decision into reality.